Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. So today's video is going to be a review of To All the Boys 2 PS I Still Love You. It drops on Netflix on the 12th. For those of you wondering, Netflix gave me an early screening for review purposes, so that's why I've already watched it. So yeah, obviously on this channel I didn't do a review of the first one, but in terms of the first one, I enjoyed it. I feel like it was a good teeny film, and I can understand the impact that it has had on so many people. It wasn't my favourite teen film, but I feel like it's one of the good films from the later half of the 2010s. Just to let you guys know, I haven't read any of the books. So obviously setting the scene, in the last film, Lara Jean and Peter finally get together and it's the real thing and it's all sweet and it's romantic, and then obviously everything is going good. Obviously from the trailer we know there's going to be some fresh boy drama. A new boy, Josh Ambrose, comes on the scene, that guy from Model UN. From the trailer they made it seem like it was going to be a choice between Peter and John. So let's just jump right in to the narrative. I'm just going to keep to the key points. I'm not really going to spoil anything. Everything that I say in this is pretty much what we already know by the trailer. But in terms of how the narrative, in terms of how the kind of love triangle narrative pans out, they kind of focus more on Lara Jean and her character development in the love triangle. I feel like the love triangle even comes secondary to Lara Jean's character development, which is quite interesting because in teen films, they usually just make it all about the romance, all about the chase. And there's still elements of that within the film, but it's less stressed. The film also explores the reasons why Lara Jean may be entertaining this new John guy. It's not necessarily as straightforward as, John is hot, I like him, so now I'm confused. They kind of touch more on Lara Jean's insecurities in her relationship with Peter and her constant comparison of her and Peter's relationship to Peter and Jen's relationship, and why those insecurities might be feeding into her now having eyes for John. Obviously from the trailer we know that Lara Jean has been honest to Peter about John coming in contact with her and how they have now coincidentally volunteering at the same place. In terms of Lara Jean and John Ambrose on screen together, I felt like they did have good chemistry, but we don't really see their relationship develop on the level that her relationship developed with Peter in the first film. I would have liked to have seen that develop a bit more. It kind of felt like it was a little bit rushed. Obviously in the trailer, as we saw, we do see John Ambrose and Peter interact with each other. It's quite interesting, it's quite funny. Obviously there's some jealousy, there's some animosity there, there's some bravado. Peter is clearly jealous, clearly threatened by the growing closeness with Lara Jean and John Ambrose. Does bring out a different side to Peter. We do see a more jealous side. We do see a more mean side with Peter, which is quite interesting. But in terms of the kind of the whole love triangle narrative as a whole, I feel like it could have been executed a lot better. Like I said, I felt like some aspects of it were a bit rushed, and with the kind of teeny shows, they are predictable, especially ones where you know there's going to be a happy ending. It's always quite predictable, but it's just about the journey. You're pretty sure you know what the ending is going to be, but it is about the journey. And I feel like the journey was less enjoyable than the journey we went on in the last film. But just have to stress, this is not a spoiler, but in terms of who I ship after watching the film, I ship John and Lana together. But yeah, let me know after watching the film who you ship. Getting onto the characters, I can't really fault the characters or the acting or anything. I felt like they all did their best with the material available. Lara Jean, obviously played by Lan Condor, she nails it again. I cannot fault her. And out of all of the characters, I think she is the most developed out of everyone in the script. I feel like in the script they have clearly taken a bit more time to develop Lara Jean's character than everyone else's. She's pretty much the same character we fell in love with in the first film. She's still very relatable. I don't really think anyone will get frustrated with her decisions in the film. You can see parts of your teen self, or maybe if you're still a young adult, of yourself in her. The only criticism that I'd have of her character, not the actor but her character, is that sometimes I feel like her maturity in some places is a bit unrealistic, because if you're thinking a 16-year-old girl would not be as mature as Lara Jean is in this situation. And not to say that they're, all 16-year-old girls are immature, but I just think in this case, I don't think, in this case, specifically in terms of her relationship with Jen, especially with the way that Jen has been treating her in the first film and the continuation of Jen's treatment. See them have a little moment together in the film. I don't think it's realistic for Lara Jean to have so much empathy for Jen. Obviously, you'll see it when you see it. I don't think that would be a realistic interaction between a teenage girl and her boyfriend's ex who has had it out for her. That was like my only pet peeve on Lara Jean's character. But for those of you who are coming here after watching it or have read the books, do you feel like the whole heart-to-heart situation with Lara Jean and Jen was realistic? Peter's character, obviously played by Noah Centineo, I think for me personally, I think that I saw a different side to Peter's character. And it's a side that I thought was quite interesting, and I thought made him less of a candidate for Lara Jean. There's a lot of behaviour that Peter has done that will come to light that might make you think differently. It might make you understand why Lara Jean has reservations about their relationship. With the revelations that come to light, I certainly would be questioning the relationship too. Obviously, when you watch the film, you'll find out what those revelations are. Obviously, Peter tries to justify his behaviour, but even with the reasons offered, some people might say, well, those reasons for those behaviour and those decisions that he made concerning Jen weren't entirely justifiable. He was being a good person. I would feel a type of way about it. And I think Lara Jean's initial points about it were truth, and I feel like she should have stood on that. Obviously, after watching it, or if you've read the book, on that whole situation concerning Peter and Jen, was Peter just being a good person, or do you feel like he should have taken into account Lara Jean's feelings? Or do you think that Lara Jean was looking too much into things and maybe that was coming from a place of insecurity? Let me know what you think. And then obviously Amelia Barrandart, who plays Jen, again, I couldn't really fault her acting. Again, I think this was just the material given. Obviously, we see kind of two sides to her. We see the mean side, and then we see her having a heart-to-heart with Lara Jean. But I just feel like there wasn't enough character development for me to have any sort of empathy for her, which I feel like that was the objective of that heart-to-heart, to suddenly have empathy for her. I personally didn't, and I think that was because there wasn't enough character development. But what do you guys think? Did you guys see a different side to Jen? Did you feel a bit sorry for her, empathetic? Or do you just feel like it still doesn't justify her actions towards Lara Jean? Other honourable mentions, obviously Kitty, Lara Jean's little sister, a staple character. Lara's dad, for any Lara dad stans, we do see him finding a love interest in this film. Yeah, I guess in terms of her other friends, I definitely didn't really care much about her other friends. In terms of her other friends, I feel like a lot of them faded into the background. I think another honourable mention would be Lucas. I feel like there needs to be justice for Lucas. I feel like he's just been having a rough time these past two films, and I really hope that in the next film, because obviously we know there's going to be a number 3, he finds some success in the love route. I'm tired of seeing Lucas down and depressed. And then obviously we have some missing characters. Josh from the last film was not in this film. For those of you who read the book, was Josh meant to be in this film realistically? Obviously there was some scandal with the actor who plays him. I think his name is Israel something, but obviously he had been making some wild statements and hateful statements. So I'm not surprised that they didn't have him back. I certainly did miss him. But yeah, can someone clarify whether he got the chop or whether Josh's character just doesn't turn up in the second book? So therefore, it's not strange that he wasn't in it. And then obviously I guess some new characters. Ross Butler makes his appearance as a character called Trevor. He didn't do anything wrong. Like, his character was a solid character. But it always feels strange to me when literally new characters just pop out of nowhere when they weren't in the first film. I just like to say that Ross Butler must have a really good agent or must have really good connections in Netflix, because it is amazing how he's still able to secure these teen roles while still looking like a grown man, even clean shaving. I'd like to have that amount of success in my own career. And then we also had a cameo from the guy in the Spider-Man film, I forgot what his name was, and Maddie Ziegler, the little girl who was dancing up in Sia's music videos. She makes a little cameo as well. I guess cameos, they're to create buzz and stuff, but I don't really think cameos are necessary anymore. But yeah, how do you guys feel about cameos? I don't hate them, but I just don't think that they're necessary. I guess, it will attract viewers from, so say if Maddie Ziegler's in it, it will attract her fans to come and watch the film. I get that. But yeah, I just prefer to see newcomers given a chance rather than the same old recycled cast. But to be fair to Maddie Ziegler, I feel like this is her first cameo, to be honest. So she gets a pass. But I think my favourite character, I hope she's back in the next film, is Stormy. She was amazing. She was hilarious. She was the life and the soul of the party. Like, I would love to have an older friend like Stormy. She basically just plays the glamorous grandma figure who is just all about living your best life. And I absolutely loved her character. The cinematography was really good. The cinematography was really great this film. It was good in the last film, but they definitely upped up the cinematography, especially with the shots with the food, especially when they were celebrating Korean New Year. And just lots of shots throughout. I really appreciate when people go out of their way to make things look pretty and make things look aesthetic. Definitely a lot of noteworthy shots there. The one thing that I think needs improvement for the next film is aspects of hair and makeup. There was a lot of time where some people's hair was not looking the best. When they had that whole dance/ball situation, I guess maybe it was just a creative choice, but they really did my man John dirty with that suit. Like, that suit looked disgusting. But yes, moving on to the rating. Overall, I felt like it was a solid film. I definitely think the first film was considerably better. I think what was a real letdown for me was the lack of development from the other characters that weren't Lara Jean, and the layout of the narrative. It was just it was quite stumpy and choppy and then rushed at the end. It should have been a lot smoother than it was. It was predictable. I was counting on that, but I would have thought that the journey, again, would have been a bit more smoother to the final outcome that we all pretty much knew was going to happen. So for that, overall, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. I still enjoyed the film. I think it would be a really good film to watch with your girlfriends or to watch on Valentine's Day. It is a perfect Valentine's Day film, definitely. That was my thoughts. When you do watch it, let me know what you thought of the film. Let me know what you thought of this review. And subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you have, don't forget to make sure your notification bell is on so you'll know when the next review is dropping. My next review is going to be the Sonic the Hedgehog film review. The embargo is lifted on the 13th, so look out for that. But yeah, till next time, guys. Bye.